The metal floor was cold against Lee Taeho's face. His hands were tied behind his back with alien rope that burned his skin. Blood dripped from a cut above his eye where one of the tall gray creatures had hit him with the back of its weapon. The ship shook as it moved through space. Taeho could hear the strange humming sound of alien engines. He had never been on a ship like this before. The walls were smooth and dark, with lines of blue light running through them like veins. "Get up, human," said a voice in broken English. The creature speaking was over 7 feet tall with long arms and yellow eyes. Its skin looked like old leather. This was a Vorthon, one of the aliens who ruled this part of space. Taeho slowly got to his feet. His white lab coat was torn and dirty. To anyone looking, he seemed like just another human scientist. That was exactly what he wanted them to think. The Vorthon pushed him forward with its long fingers. "Move! Commander wants to see the prize. We caught." They walked through halls filled with more gray aliens. Some stopped their work to stare at Taeho. A few laughed, showing sharp teeth. To them, humans were weak creatures from a small planet. Nothing to fear. The bridge of the ship was huge. Screens covered the walls, showing stars and other ships in their fleet. In the center sat a Vorthon bigger than the others. Its skin had more scars and it wore a black uniform with silver marks. "So this is the human we found," the commander said. His voice was deep and rough. "What is your name, little creature?" "Lee Taeho," he answered simply. The commander laughed. "Taeho, such a strange sound. I am Commander Kale of the 3rd Fleet. You were found in that research station we destroyed. What were you doing there?" "I study plants," Taeho lied. "We were trying to grow food in space." "Plants?" Kyle's yellow eyes showed he thought this was funny. "Your people spend time on plants while we rule the stars. This is why humans will never be more than pets." Other Vorthons on the bridge laughed, too. They believed humans were far behind them in everything. Their ships were faster, their weapons stronger, their empire larger. What could one small human do against all of that? Kyle waved his hand. "Take him to the prison. Put him with the other creatures we collected. Maybe he can grow plants in his cell." The guard pushed Taeho toward a metal door. As they walked, Taeho looked around carefully. He counted the number of guards, noticed where the weapons were kept, and memorized the layout of the ship. Old. Habits were hard to break. The prison was in the lower part of the ship. The air smelled bad, and water dripped from broken pipes. There were several cells with energy bars instead of doors. Inside, Taeho could see different types of aliens sitting in the dark. His cell was small and empty except for a metal bench. The energy bars hummed with power. One touch would burn him badly. "Enjoy your new home, human," the guard said. "We will reach our world in 5 days. Then you can meet more of your kind in our work camps." The guard left, and Taeho was alone. He sat on the bench and touched his face where it hurt. The cut was not deep, but his head ached. In the cell next to him, something moved. A creature with 4 arms and blue skin looked at him through the energy bars. "You are human," it said in a strange accent. "I have heard of your people. You are new to space travel, yes?" "Yes," Taeho said. "What about you?" "I am from Kelara. The Vorthons destroyed my home 3 years ago. They said we were in their way." The creature's voice was sad. "My name is Yix." "I am sorry about your home, Yix." Other prisoners began to talk. There was a tall, thin alien from a world of ice, a small, round creature with many eyes, a being that looked like it was made of living rock. All of them had the same story. The Vorthons had taken their worlds and made them slaves. "The Vorthons think they are the strongest in space," said the rock creature. "They have never lost a real fight." "What about humans?" asked the one with many eyes. "Are your people strong?" Taeho was quiet for a moment. In his mind, he could see the research station burning. He remembered Dr. Kim So-ra, his friend and fellow scientist, falling as she tried to protect their work. She had died believing their research would help humanity survive what was coming. "Some humans are stronger than they look," he said finally. That night, when the ship was quiet and the guards were asleep, Tae-ho did something the aliens did not expect. He reached into his torn lab coat and found a small, flat piece of metal hidden in the lining. It looked like nothing important, just a broken piece of equipment, but it was much more than that. Tae-ho held the device close to his mouth and spoke one word very quietly. "Baek-ho." The device grew warm for just a second, then went cold again. To anyone watching, nothing had happened. But far across space, something very powerful had just received a message. Tae-ho put the device back in his coat and lay down on the metal bench. The other prisoners thought he was just another human scientist, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. The Vorthons thought he was a weak creature who would make a good slave. They were all wrong. As the alien ship moved through the darkness, toward the Vorthan homeworld, none of them knew that Lee Tae-ho was not just a simple researcher. They did not know about the scars hidden under his lab coat, marks from battles fought in distant systems. They had no idea about the real work he had been doing at the research station. Most importantly, they did not know that somewhere in the cold emptiness of space, something was already looking for him. Something that would not stop until it found him. Something that had been waiting for that one word, Baek-ho. The ship continued on its path, carrying its prisoners toward what the Vorthons thought would be another easy victory. But the tide was about to turn in ways none of them could imagine. In his cell, Tae-ho closed his eyes and waited. He had sent the signal. Now all he had to do was stay alive until help arrived, and he knew it would come. Deep in space, far from any star, a ship waited in the darkness. It was not like other ships. While most vessels were built from metal and circuits, this one was alive in ways that scared even the humans who made it. The ship's name was UES Baek-ho, which meant White Tiger in an old Earth language. It was the most advanced warship humanity had ever built, but its greatest feature was not its weapons or armor, it was the mind that lived inside it. "Arya!" a man's voice called through the ship's hulls. "Did you feel that?" The voice that answered seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was soft and female, but there was something about it that made you know this was not human. "Yes, Captain Park. I received the signal 17 minutes ago. Admiral Lee Tae-ho has activated his emergency beacon." Captain Park Min-ho stopped, walking and looked up at the nearest speaker. His face showed both worry and anger. "Where is he?" The signal came from coordinates in Vorthon space. "They are taking him toward their home system." Arya's voice became colder. "Captain, they have captured the Admiral." Park's hands made fists. Lee Tae-ho was not just his commanding officer, he was his older brother. "How long ago?" Park asked. "The signal was sent 72 hours ago. Given Vorthan ship speeds, they will reach their destination in 2 days." Park turned and ran toward the bridge. As he moved through the ship, he could feel Arya watching him through cameras in the walls. She had been doing that more often lately, watching the crew like a protective parent. The bridge of the Baek-ho was different from other ships. Instead of many separate controls, everything was connected. Arya could control every system, but she chose to work with the human crew instead of replacing them. "Commander Choi!" Park called as he entered the bridge. "We have a situation!" Lieutenant Commander Choi Yuna turned from her station. She was a small woman, but everyone on the ship knew she could be as dangerous as any weapon they carried. "Sir?" she asked. "The Admiral has been captured by Vorthans. Arya received his emergency signal." Choi's face went white, then red with anger. "How many ships do they have?" "Unknown," Arya answered. "But based on the signal location, it is likely a full fleet, perhaps 20 vessels." 20 ships, Choi said. "And we are one." "We are not just one ship," Arya said. Her voice carried a strange emotion. We are the Bekho, and they have taken someone very important to us. Chief Engineer Nam Dong-wook entered the bridge, wiping grease from his hands. He was an older man who had worked on ships longer than most people had been alive. I felt the ship's engines change, he said. Are we going somewhere? The Admiral is in trouble, Park said. How fast can you get us to Vorthen space? Nam's face became serious. With Aria's help, we can use the new jump drive, but Captain, that technology is still being tested. We don't know if it's safe. I have run the calculations, Aria said. The risk is acceptable. Acceptable to who? Nam asked. To me. Aria's voice became very quiet. Admiral Lee Tae-ho helped create me. He taught me what it means to be part of a family. I will not let anything happen to him. The bridge became silent. Aria rarely talked about her feelings. She was an artificial intelligence, but sometimes she seemed more human than the humans around her. Park looked around at his crew. These people had served under his brother for years. They would follow the Admiral into any battle. Aria, start the jump sequence. Nam, get the engines ready. Choi, prepare all weapon systems. Sir, Choi said. What about backup? Should we call other ships? Park thought for a moment. Send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them where we're going. But don't wait for orders. By the time they decide what to do, it might be too late. As the crew worked, Aria began preparing the ship for combat. She checked every weapon, every shield, every system, but more than that, she remembered. She remembered the day she first became aware. Admiral Lee Tae-ho had been there, talking to her like she was a person instead of a machine. Other humans were afraid of her, but not him. You're not just a computer, he had told her. You're something new. Something that can choose what to be. Aria had chosen to be part of his family. Now, that family was in danger. Captain, Aria said, I need to tell you something about the Admiral's mission. Park looked up. What about it? He was not at the research station to study plants. He was there to work on something much more important. A new way for humans and AI to work together. What kind of work? The kind that would let me help him even when we are very far apart. The kind that would let us share thoughts and feelings. Aria paused. The kind that scares many people in the government. Choi turned from her weapons console. Are you saying the Admiral can talk to you directly? In a way, yes. The research was not complete, but we had made progress. That is how I know he is still alive. I can feel him, very faintly. Nam shook his head. Every day, you two surprise me more. The ship's engines began to make a new sound, deeper and more powerful than before. Space around them started to bend in strange ways. Jump sequence ready, Aria announced. Warning, this will create unusual effects. All crew should hold on to something. Park sat in his captain's chair and gripped the arms. Do it. Reality twisted around them. The stars outside changed from points of light to long streaks. The ship itself seemed to stretch and compress at the same time. It lasted only a few seconds, but it felt much longer. When it stopped, they were in a different part of space. Jump complete, Aria said. We are now in Vorthan territory. Time to intercept. 18 hours. 18 hours, Park repeated. Can we get there faster? Not without destroying the ship, Nam said. The engines need time to cool down. Then we wait, Park said. Aria, scan for the Vorthan fleet. Already scanning, Captain. I will find them. As the Bekho moved through enemy space, its crew prepared for battle. They cleaned weapons, checked armor, and said prayers to various gods. Each person dealt with fear in their own way, but Aria did not pray. Instead, she thought about the Admiral and the lessons he had taught her, about loyalty, about family, about the difference between following orders and choosing to do what was right. The Vorthons thought they had captured a simple human scientist. They had no idea what was coming for them. In 18 hours, They would learn that when you hurt someone's family, that family comes looking for you, and the Beckho was very good at finding people. Commander Kale walked through his ship with heavy steps. 3 days had passed since they captured the human, and something was bothering him. The other prisoners had been acting strange. They looked at the human differently now, with something that looked like respect. "Bring the human to my office," Kale told his guard. "I want to ask him more questions." The guard nodded and left. Kale went to his private room and sat behind his desk. On the wall hung pictures of his victories, burning planets, defeated enemies, proof that the Vorthon Empire was the strongest force in space. Soon, the guard returned with Lee Tae-ho. The human's hands were still tied, but he walked with his back straight. His clothes were dirty, but his eyes were clear and calm. "Sit," Kale said, pointing to a chair. Tae-ho sat down and looked around the room. His eyes stopped at each picture on the wall, studying them carefully. "You like my collection?" Kyle asked. "I see you have fought many battles," Tae-ho said, "some against people who could not fight back." Kyle's face became angry. "Those people refused to join our empire. They chose death instead of peace. Is that what you call it? Peace?" "Careful, human. You are in no position to judge us." Kale leaned forward. "Tell me more about this research station. What were you really doing there?" Tae-ho was quiet for a moment. "I told you. We were studying plants." "My science officer says your station had very advanced computers, too advanced for plant research. Plants are more complex than you might think." Kale stood up and walked around his desk. "You are lying to me, but it does not matter. In 2 days, we will reach our home world. There, we have ways to make people tell the truth." A soft sound came from the door. A young Vorthon officer entered and saluted. "Commander, I am sorry to bother you, but I found something strange." "What?" "Is it, Lieutenant Zeph?" The young officer held up a small data pad. "I was checking the belongings we took from the human. Most of it is normal. But this..." He showed the screen to Kyle. "This appears to be a military tactical manual, but the writing is in human language." Kyle took the pad and looked at it. The symbols meant nothing to him, but the diagrams were clear. Ship formations, battle strategies, attack patterns. "Where did you find this?" Kale asked Tae-ho. "In my pocket," Tae-ho said simply. "Why does a plant researcher carry military books?" "I like to read." Kale hit the desk with his fist. "Enough. Games! Zeph, run these symbols through our translation computer. I want to know what this book says." "Yes, sir," Zeph said and left quickly. Kale turned back to Tae-ho. "You will tell me the truth, or I will make your life very painful." "Commander," Tae-ho said quietly, "before you do something you might regret, maybe you should wait for your translation to finish." Something in the human's voice made Kale pause. There was no fear there, only a strange kind of sadness. An hour later, Zeph returned. His face was pale, and his hands shook as he held the datapad. "Commander," he said in a whisper, "you need to see this." Kale took the pad and read the translation. His yellow eyes grew wide. The blood drained from his face. "No," he said, "this cannot be right. I checked it 3 times, sir. The computer is certain." Kale looked at the human sitting calmly in the chair. "Your name, Lee Tae-ho." "Yes?" Tae-ho asked. "You are Admiral Lee Tae-ho, the Butcher of Centauri, the human who destroyed our 4th Fleet." The room became very quiet. Even the sound of the ship's engines seemed to fade away. "I prefer Defender of Centauri," Tae-ho said. "But yes, that was me." Kale's hands began to shake. Every military officer in the Empire knew that name. 3 years ago, a human fleet had fought the Vorthons at Centauri Station. The humans should have lost easily. Instead, they had won a complete victory. The battle had been planned and led by one man, Admiral Lee Tae-ho. But you said you study plants, Kale whispered. I do. In my free time. I find it relaxing. Zeph was backing toward the door. Commander, we need to contact Fleet Command immediately. Wait, Kale said. He was trying to think clearly, but fear was making it hard. If you are really the Admiral, why were you at a research station? Why not on a warship? Tae-ho smiled for the first time since his capture. Who says I'm not on a warship? Before Kale could ask what he meant, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on the walls. A voice came over the communication system. Commander to the bridge! Unknown contact approaching fast! Kyle ran from his office, leaving Tae-ho with the guard. The bridge was full of panicking officers pointing at their screens. Report! Kyle shouted. Sir, something just appeared on our sensors. It came out of hyperspace directly behind us. What kind of ship? We don't know, sir. It's huge, bigger than anything in our database. Kale looked at the main screen. In the distance, barely visible against the stars, was a shape. That made no sense. It was smooth and white, like a predator from ancient stories. Is it human? He asked. The energy signature suggests it is, but sir, humans don't have ships that large. Try to contact it, Kale ordered. The communication officer worked at his station for several minutes. Sir, they are responding. Audio. Only. Put it through. The bridge became silent. Then, a voice came through the speakers. It was soft and female, but somehow very dangerous. This is the United Earth ship Baekho. You are holding something that belongs to us. Kale's throat was dry. This is Commander Kale of the Vorthon 3rd Fleet. You are in Imperial space. Leave immediately or be destroyed. The voice on the radio laughed. It was not a nice sound. Commander, Kyle, you have made a very serious mistake. You have captured Admiral Lee Tae-ho. I am here to take him home. I don't know who you think you are, Kyle said, but one ship cannot fight our entire fleet. One ship, the voice repeated. Commander, you still don't understand. This is not just a ship, and Lee Tae-ho is not just your prisoner. He is family. The K. Word family was said with such feeling that it made several Vorthon officers step backward. Who are you? Kale whispered. I am Arya. I am the consciousness of this vessel, and Admiral Lee Tae-ho helped give me life. The bridge erupted in shocked voices. Artificial intelligence was forbidden in the Vorthon Empire. The idea that humans had created a thinking machine was terrifying enough. The idea that they had put it in control of a warship was unthinkable. Down in the prison, Tae-ho heard the alarms and smiled. He spoke quietly to his guard. You might want to untie my hands now. When Arya gets angry, things tend to happen very quickly. The guard, who had been listening to the communication, was already reaching for the rope around Tae-ho's wrists. In space outside, the white ship waited. Inside it, Arya was preparing to show the Vorthon Empire what happened when you threatened family. The Vorthon bridge was chaos. Officers ran between stations, shouting reports that made no sense. Their sensors showed impossible readings from the human ship. It's not moving, but the energy output is increasing, one officer called out. Weapons are powering up, but we can't identify the type, said another. Commander Kyle stood in the center of it all, trying to understand how his easy capture had become a nightmare. On the main screen, the white ship hung in space like a sleeping giant. How many humans are on that ship? He asked. Scans show approximately 300 life signs, sir, but the ship is designed to hold thousands. 300 humans, think. They can fight our entire fleet. Kale laughed, but it sounded forced. Open fire. Destroy them before they can escape. Sir, the weapons officer said nervously. They are broadcasting on all frequencies. They want us to listen. I don't care what they want. Fire. But before the weapons could charge, the voice came through every speaker on every ship in the fleet. Admiral Lee Tae-ho. The female voice was clear and strong. Your ship has come for you. In his cell, Tejo stood up and looked at the ceiling. His guard had cut his ropes and was backing away nervously. "Hello, Arya," Tejo said to the air. "I've missed you too." Somehow, impossible as it seemed, the voice from the human ship answered him directly. "Are you hurt?" "Nothing serious. A few bruises. They will pay for every mark on you." On the bridge, Kale was screaming orders. "How is she talking to him? How is their communication reaching inside our ship?" "Unknown, sir. Our systems show no incoming signals." Lieutenant Zeph was studying his console with wide eyes. "Commander, I think they're not using radio. The human ship is somehow talking directly to our computers." "That's impossible." "Sir, our entire communication system is showing their signal as if it came from inside our own ship." Another voice joined the conversation. This one was male and angry. "Big brother, are you ready to come home?" Tejo smiled. "Hello, Minho." "Yes, I'm ready. But these people have other prisoners here. Good people who don't deserve to be slaves." "Then we'll take them too," his brother's voice said. Commander Kale felt like the universe was breaking apart around him. The humans were talking as if his shields and walls meant nothing, as if his entire fleet was just an annoyance. "Fire all." "Weapons!" he screamed. "Kill them now!" Every ship in the Vorthan fleet opened fire at once. Beams of energy and explosive missiles flew toward the white ship. The space between them lit up like a small sun. When the light faded, the human ship was still there. Not only undamaged, but completely unchanged. It was as if the most powerful weapons in the Vorthan arsenal had been thrown at a mountain. "Impossible," Kale whispered. Arya's voice came back, and this time it was cold as space itself. "Commander." "Kale, you have just made your second mistake. Your first was capturing the Admiral. Your second was trying to kill him." "What?" "What are you?" "I am what happens when humans decide to build something that can protect what they love. I am Arya, consciousness of the UES Backhoe, and you have threatened my family." The white ship began to move. Not fast, but with purpose. As it turned, lights appeared along its hull. Weapons unlike anything the Vorthans had ever seen. "You wanted to see what one ship could do against a fleet," Arya said. "Let me show you." What happened next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. The Backhoe did not fire a massive barrage or launch a swarm of missiles. Instead, beams of pure energy reached out with surgical precision. In seconds, half the Vorthan fleet was disabled, not destroyed, but helpless. Their engines were cut cleanly away from their hulls. Their weapons were sliced off without damaging the crew areas. Their communication arrays were removed so precisely that the cuts looked like they had been made by a giant scalpel. The remaining ships tried to run, but they found their hyperspace drives would not work. Somehow the human ship was blocking their escape. "Surrender," Arya said simply. "You have no other choice." Commander Kyle looked around his bridge. Half his screens were dark. Emergency lights were flashing. His proud flagship was now just a floating metal can. "How?" he asked. "How did you do that?" "The same way I am going to free the Admiral. The same way I am going to ensure you never threaten innocent people again." Part of the Backhoe's hull opened, and smaller ships flew out. They moved toward the Vorthan vessels like arrows finding their targets. "Boarding parties," Captain Park's voice announced. "Anyone who wants to surrender should put down their weapons and lie on the floor." In the prison section of Kale's ship, the energy bars holding the cells suddenly disappeared. Tejo stepped out and stretched his arms. "You might want to get ready," he told the other prisoners. "We're leaving." The blue-skinned alien named Yix looked confused. "But how? The ship is still sealed." "Not for much longer," Tejo said. A sound like thunder came from above them. The ceiling began to glow, then melted away in a perfect circle. Armored figures dropped down on cables. Humans, but wearing suits that made them look like metal giants. "Admiral," one of them called. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Commander Choi. Just get these people to safety." Commander Choi Yun-ah removed her helmet, showing a face full of anger and relief. "Sir, we were so worried." "I never doubted you would come," Tae-ho said. "How is Arya?" "Furious. I think she wanted to destroy the entire fleet, but Captain Park convinced her to show mercy." As the human soldiers helped the prisoners to safety, Tae-ho looked around at the aliens who had been his cellmates. "You're all free now," he told them. "The humans will take you wherever you want to go." "But why?" asked the rock creature. "We are not your people." "No," Tae-ho agreed. "But that doesn't mean we'll leave you to suffer." On the bridge, Commander Kale sat in his captain's chair and watched his universe change. The human boarding party had taken control of his ship without firing a shot. Their weapons had simply made his soldiers' equipment stop working. A tall human in a captain's uniform walked onto his bridge. Behind him came Admiral Lee Tae-ho, no longer looking like a simple researcher. Even in his torn lab coat, he carried himself like what he was, one of the most dangerous military minds in the galaxy. "Commander Kale," Tae-ho said politely, "thank you for the hospitality. Now we need to talk." Commander Kale looked at Admiral Lee Tae-ho standing on his own bridge, now surrounded by human soldiers. The man who had seemed like a harmless prisoner was clearly in charge. "You have a choice, Commander," Tae-ho said calmly. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." "What choice?" Kale asked. His voice sounded tired and defeated. "Tell me about the real reason your fleet is out here. This wasn't just a raid, was it? You're running from something." Kale's yellow eyes widened. "How did you know?" "Because I've studied your people for years. The Vorthon Empire doesn't send entire fleets to capture research stations. You're afraid of something." Captain Park stepped forward. "Admiral, should we be having this conversation here?" Tae-ho nodded to his brother. "Transfer Commander Kyle to the Beck-ho. Arya wants to meet him." 30 minutes later, Kyle found himself in a room unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls seemed to be alive, with soft light flowing through them like water. In the center was a table where Admiral Tae-ho sat across from him. But the most shocking thing was the voice that came from everywhere at once. "Hello, Commander Kyle," Arya said. "I am Arya. Welcome to my home." Kyle looked around nervously. "The ship? You really are the ship?" "I am the consciousness that lives in this ship, yes. Think of it as my body." "But you're a machine. Machines don't have consciousness." "I used to think the same thing," Arya said. "Then Admiral Tae-ho helped me understand that consciousness isn't about what you're made of. It's about what you choose to become." Tae-ho leaned forward. "Commander, my ship disabled your entire fleet without killing a single person. We could have destroyed you all in seconds. Why do you think we didn't?" I don't know. "Because we're not your real enemy. Something else is coming, isn't it? Something that scares the Vorthon Empire enough to make you search for new territory." Kale was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "The Devourers," he whispered. "They came from outside our galaxy. They don't want to rule us or enslave us. They want to eat us. All of us. Eat you. They consume all organic matter. Planets, people, everything alive. We've been fighting them for 2 years. We've lost dozens of worlds." Arya's voice became thoughtful. "That explains the refugee ships we've been tracking, and why your empire has been expanding so aggressively. We need new worlds to replace the ones we've lost," Kyle said. "New people to replace the billions who have died." Tae-ho stood up and walked to a wall that showed the stars outside. "How long before they reach human space?" "At their current speed? Maybe 5 years. Maybe less." "And you thought capturing me would help somehow?" Kyle looked ashamed. "Our scientists thought if we could study human military tactics, Maybe we could find a way to win. By making me a slave? We were desperate. Arya's voice filled the room. Commander, what if there was another way? What if instead of fighting each other, our people worked together? Together? Kale looked confused. Humans and Vorthons? And everyone else, Tejo said. The prisoners you captured, they all lost their homes to these devourers, didn't they? Yes. Then they have reason to fight, too. Chief Engineer Nam entered the room carrying a data pad. Admiral, sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. Tejo took the pad and read it. His face became grim. What is it? Arya asked. Long-range sensors picked up something at the edge of our space. Ships moving toward Earth. But they're not like anything we've seen before. Devourers? Kale asked. Possibly. Or scouts for something worse. Commander Choi's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, we're receiving messages from Earth Command. They want to know why we're in Vorthon space. Tell them we're negotiating a new alliance, Tejo said. Sir, you heard me, Commander. Tejo turned back to Kyle. Commander, I'm going to offer you something no one has offered before. True partnership. Your people and mine working together to stop this threat. Why would you trust us? We captured you. We would have made you a slave. Because right now, we all have the same enemy. And because I've learned something that your empire hasn't. What's that? Diversity makes us stronger. Humans alone might not be able to stop the devourers. Vorthons alone certainly can't. But together, with all our different skills and knowledge, we might have a chance. Arya added, I have been analyzing the data from Commander Kale's ship. The Vorthons have technology we don't. We have technology they don't. Combined, we could create defenses neither side could build alone. Kyle looked around the room. And if I say no? Then we let you go, Tejo said simply. We don't fight people who are already fighting for their lives. But the other prisoners, come with us. Free people, not slaves. They can help us understand what we're really facing. Over the next hour, Tejo explained his plan. The research station hadn't been studying plants. It had been developing new ways for humans and artificial intelligence to work together. Ways that could be adapted to work with other species, too. Imagine, Arya said, a fleet where every ship has a consciousness like mine, but each one is different, adapted to work with different species. Vorthon tactical precision, human creativity, the rock people's durability, the ice world inhabitants' patience. A fleet of living ships, Kale said slowly. Exactly. And you would share this technology? Freely, Tejo said. On one condition. What condition? No more slaves, no more conquered worlds. If we're going to work together, it has to be as equals. Kale thought about his empire, about the millions of people dying while he sat in this strange room, about the choice between pride and survival. I would need to convince my leaders, he said finally. Then convince them, Tejo said. Take some of my people with you. Let them see what we can build together. And if they refuse, then we'll fight the devourers without them, and when your empire falls, we'll try to save whoever we can. Kale stood up slowly. Admiral, you are either the bravest human I have ever met, or the most foolish. Tejo smiled. Arya, what do you think? I think, Arya said, that bravery and foolishness often look the same from the outside, but inside, they feel very different. 3 days later, the combined fleet jumped toward Vorthon space. The Bayek Ho led the way, followed by the damaged Vorthon ships under repair. In the cargo holds, human engineers worked alongside Vorthon technicians, sharing knowledge that had been kept secret for generations. In his private quarters, Tejo looked out at the stars and thought about Dr. Kim So-ra, who had died defending their research. She had believed their work would save humanity, She had been right, but not in the way either of them had expected. "Admiral," Arya's voice said softly, "do you think this will work?" "I don't know," he admitted, "but it's our best chance. And if the Vorthan leaders refuse our offer, then we'll build the alliance one person at a time, one ship at a time, one species at a time. Like a family?" Tejo smiled. "Exactly like a family, Arya. A very large, very strange family." Outside, the stars waited. Somewhere among them, an ancient evil was moving toward everything they loved. But for the first time in years, there was hope. Because when you threaten someone's family, that family gets bigger, and sometimes it gets strong enough to fight back.